firstly, let's talk about this. I finally finished reading it, and I think the second volume will be here hopefully by Sabbath. I finished reading this Sabbath. It's fantastic. I absolutely adored it. Also, I want to point out how well designed it is. I love this cover, right? Which really, I think, sells it so well. Like, it's got that monotone feel to it while having a color pop. Who was the designer? Is it Perry Goodbold? Right? Because she's been great for like years and years and years and years and years. Where's the introduction? No, I'm trying to find the credits. Oh, art restoration and reconstruction, Perry Goodbold, right? And the designer was Barry Spears and Angela Hart. But again, background. Oh, man, look at this. Look at this picture they take from Steve Dillon. It's fantastic. Steve Dillon, as good from the first line he drew right to the last. So I've been waiting for this collection to come out for a long time, right? A long time. It's the backup strips that first came out in Doctor Who magazine. This was a big thing back in the late 70s, early 80s. It was you had a main strip that was 8 pages long, and then you had a backup strip. Now, the main strip was the Dave Gibbons Doctor Who, Mike Mahonful a little bit, but I think just one story. But yeah, mainly Dave Gibbons. But then you wanted to do a backup strip which had like other monsters and characters that appeared in Doctor Who, and basically create their own little universe, right? You know what it was like if you watched Star Wars when it first came out. We've got Star Wars comic. I think Howard Chaykin, right, who went on to do a lot of great stuff, did the artwork on it. I can't remember who wrote it, but they got to issue 7, I think, or maybe issue 4 or something like that, and they ran out of Star Wars, right? They did the adaptation of the first Star Wars movie, so then they went off and made their own lore, right? You had a different Jabba the Hutt, and it was so wildly inventive and free, right? It really, 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 really worked well. And this is basically a very similar thing. So, and it's also good to see, like, you know, the growth of comics, right? As a medium. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 fantastic stories. Some really knock out the park. So the first one. Now, I nearly bought the Daleks collection just for this one. So this is Dave Lloyd doing the artwork from V for Vendetta. If you haven't read that, you should do. But from breakdowns by Paul Neary, right? And so it's kind of stilted. It feels kind of stiff. It doesn't really work. The story is a bizarre little one. It's like this movie studio that wants to have the next big thing, and Daleks invaded in the history. So they make their own Daleks, and then Daleks invade. It's a weird one, right? It's one that doesn't really necessarily work. But the second story in it, throwback, the Soul of a Sideman. Is this the one drawn by? This was by Paul Neary and Steve Dillon. So this is Paul Neary, and again they got these kind of weird design Sidemen. But Des Skin, the editor, wasn't really very happy with how it came out. So he drafted in Steve Dillon. Now, Steve Dillon, again, 16, 17 when he drew these. I mean, I don't want to say he didn't develop as an artist, right? But like the professionalism, right from the very, very first line he drew. Just fantastic. And he invented one, like a character that really endured, Croton, the Sideman. They brought him back like 25 years later, be a companion with the Sixth Doctor. Next story is a Sontaran story. So they always kind of looked to the again by was it Paul Neary? I think Paul Neary probably did the Tom Baker illustrations at the beginning and the end of each one, right? So they were really leaning into the past of Doctor Who. So what was 79? They just said Destiny of the Daleks, right? And he hadn't seen Sontaran quite well, so they really focus on monsters that hadn't been around, and also they wanted to explore Gallifrey. Again, Steve Dillon. This stolen TARDIS story. This one's not the best story. This whole collection is written by Steve Dillon. Not Steve Dillon, Steve Moore, who was a good friend of Alan Moore, who brought in the next collection, brings in Alan Moore to as one of his first professional jobs. Now, an interesting thing about reading comics from this era, right, is the pre-Alan Moore British comics era. The writing is much more clunky than it was afterwards, right? It was much more naturalistic afterwards. I think that because Alan Moore just shook up the entire industry. And the third story is a rather strange Time Lord story, Gallifrey story, where you have this traveling circus that arrives on Gallifrey, but they're not real. They get fooled. And you have this guy who was very talented, but was denied being a Time Lord. And it's intimated that it might be an early proto-Doctor. But they really have a lot of attention to detail on this. It's can I show you that? Like when you see the TARDISes, they look very much like the TARDISes from. Oh, you can just see it over here. Where is it? Yeah, TARDISes from War Games, like in the Raw State. Jeremy Bentham was there. Was there like the person who knew Doctor Who stuff, right? Who'll get a picture of everything. So then they were bitching that K9 hadn't been into it, right? K9 was so popular then. So you get this little K9 story. Again, not the greatest in the collection. I think Paul Nur is on the artwork of that as well. But this one's really good. Warlord of the Ogrons. Oh, I love this story, right? So you have essentially it's scientists trying to augment Ogrons, and it's a cautionary tale. Back to David Lloyd for this Ice Warrior story, and it's got a very kind of like unique kind of grungy feel to it. It's not as gorgeous as the Steve Dillon stuff, right? But it's got I like that it's got its own genuine feel. This is Death World. This is Cybermen end up on a planet with Ice Warriors, and they duke it out, and it's just so non-canon, right? It's so wonderfully non-canon. But then finally, when we get to this what's the word again? What's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. This definitive story, right? Which is Absalom Dalek Killer. So this was their attempt to make a character that could have legs well beyond Doctor Who magazine and become a character in his own right. And actually, he was, right. It was really kind of amazing. Lots of good eye candy though. He ends up working with a scantily clad princess, and I love the design of these pages. Look at him slice that robot in two, right? There's so much movement and fluidity in it, right? And she's hanging out with some Daleks. Yeah, I'm just going to lay here sexily. That will do well. So they meet up and they go on this adventure to try and save this backwater planet from the Dalek invasion. Steve Dillon said this is one of his favorite pages he ever drew, right? This near shuttle crash, right? But again, his ability to catch emotion, right, and action. He did a lot of the Blake Seven magazine comics, and oh man, that really felt perfect, right? It felt like Steve Dillon had designed it. But yeah, I love this. Look at this panel with the muscle-bound guy snogging beautiful princess with the chainsaw in the background, right? It's exactly the same vibe I got from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right? Which is, it's all for kids. It's all for kids, and kissing girls is what big heroes do. And Steve Dillon, a dab hand at drawing the Daleks. Also, I love his starship design, right? Just absolutely perfect. But you're really in this very authentic world they put you in, and again, just beautifully designed. But it's this last page that knocks it into the stratosphere, where they win the day. And spoiler alert for how many years ago it was, 30 years ago, more, 50 years ago. His lady love that he just met gets killed, right? And he goes on, he vows to kill every damn Dalek in the universe. And that's basically his rationale. But the fact that he shed a tear, right, after being this muscle-bound action hero, just gave him so much layers and pathos, right, which you didn't normally see in those days. Next story is another David Lloyd, again, still written by Steve Moore, Silurian tale. And again, these are more like cautionary tales. They're like little. They got a little like kind of twist at the end with Doctor Who monsters, right? And honestly, I think David Lloyd really did suit that strip. But Steve Dillon's back again for another Croton strip. Where's Croton? I love the design of this Cyberman as well, right? As he was popular, and they brought him back as he like finds what's going on. Basically, he ends up in a ship caught in a time warp, and then he ends up floating away and like running out of power again, right? And to be discovered how many years later? This was 81, so it was like 25 years later. No, it was before. It was Paul McGann era. So about 25 years later, right? We get another. Oh, this is also another. Yeah, Steve Moore just wanted to write like these little sci-fi one-off stories, right? And inhabit them with Doctor Who monsters and characters or aliens. They were very important to them to make sure they're called aliens. And then the one where it really reaches these incredible heights, Star Tigers, which is the continuation of Absalom Dark. The Draconian looks great, and I love that. Was it over here? Where's the? I love the Draconian talking to the Dalek, right? So they're tracking this shuttle as he's taking out all of like all these Dalek hoverbouts, and he finally gets out. And this wasn't they didn't say anything about it on the front page of the magazine at the time. It's Absalom Dark back again. Drunk and not doing so well. Absalom Dark, Dalek Killer. And it enters into like this. Now, the first time I saw this, by the way, was when it was reprinted in Captain Britain magazine. Not the Alan Moore one. It was Alan Davis and Saint Delino. John Delino? I can't remember. So this is like the ongoing adventure of Absalom Dark, that he acquires himself this awesome ship called the Kill Wagon. Where is it? Over here. And then he heads off to recruit a force of people to help him kill every stinking Dalek in the galaxy, right? David Lloyd takes over the art duties for the second half of this strip. And surprisingly very good, right? I think he really kind of like merges into this one. I think basically he had a lot more creative freedom. So you find they go and find an ice warrior to recruit, right? Who has this job murdering people. Like if you're feeling suicidal, you go into this death by torture is their specialities. That's very Steve Moore, right? That's very Steve Moore. Yeah, so this is an old friend of Absalom Dax, and they kidnap him, and eventually they pick up the last one. And here's something I didn't realize: these little like robots. Originally, they were supposed to be Daleks, but they didn't have the right to. I don't think they got the right permissions to use them in earlier strips, so they had to like back off of it. But one second, where's Steve Dillon doing the Dalek hoverbouts? Because they look fabulous, right? Where was it? Is it over here, or was it in the first strip they did? Because I was like looking and going, man, because I think this was before. Like, I mean, I guess you had the hoverbouts in was it TV21, right? But again, I like this like out of canon, kind of out of context Doctor Who, right? It's or Doctor Who world. Where is it? Over here? No. Okay, there was some. Oh, maybe it's back here. 1 second. No. Here it is. Yeah. And I like these like supercharged early 80s Dalek hoverbouts, right? They look fantastic. Hello, I'm here. And is that where? And the collection, I think, ends off there. This collection's been reprinted many times over, the Star Tiger stuff, and I think I have it. It's like Absalom Dark Dalek Killer graphic novel where they reinstated the Daleks that they took out, and then you get this great making of through it. So look, for me, this has been a really, really genuinely pleasant read, beautifully designed, great stories, big recommend, right? Genuinely a big recommend. I think rush out and buy yourself a copy now. That would be what my recommendation to you. My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.